one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, and let the roll reflect. We have a majority with the absence of Councilmember Lawrence and Councilmember Fulch. Councilmembers, is there any items, any corrections to the minutes from the past meeting? And at this time, we will hear from the audience. If anybody wishes to speak to the audience at this time, please step forward, or if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand and we will call on you if we see your hand raised. No one in the audience? No one on Zoom?
We've got several on Zoom, but nobody's raising their hand.
Okay. Again, we will ask if you would like to speak to us on Zoom, please raise your hand and we will allow you to come into the meeting. Okay. Council members, any items to be considered? Council, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
And a move by Councilmember Leifeld with a second by Councilmember Pemble. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed to that meeting, or motion, sorry, state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Tonight, we have an authorization of a signature agreement for amendment number 2 with Apex Facility Solutions, LLC. And for this item, we will have an introduction by our Parks and Rec Director, Chris Jenkins. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Mayor and Council, this is amendment number 2. This is the arena refrigeration, roofing, and solar project at the Hastings Civic Arena. Previous amendment added the motor control center and the West Rink roof replacement for that project. This is everything else. This is the actual refrigeration plant. This is the solar that goes on top of the West Rink roof, and this is an upgraded and replaced electrical service center for that. Not a whole lot has changed that you guys have not seen already, but this puts the total cost of this project at just over $5.2 million. And again, what we're asking for tonight is authorization, and with this amendment, we'll add it to the agreement and we'll keep moving ahead.
Great, thank you, Chris. Council, any discussion? Councilmember Fulch.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hi, Chris.
Hi to you.
Congratulations on your daughter being committed to Duluth to play softball.
Absolutely.
Your second
Thank you.
daughter.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, what was her name again?
Lauren.
Lauren.
Yep.
Both beautiful girls. I saw your older girl just this weekend.
Oh, yeah, she did come down.
So I was wondering, with the projects as they're rolling along, how it is that the needs assessment that's being done with the stakeholders, how do you see that work being completed, the results, and then how does that work with the overall rehabilitation of the facility?
Sure. With the planning process that is currently underway and this project, so what's being tackled in this project is it's everything kind of as is, right? We're replacing the roof on the West Rink, throwing some solar up there. Even with a facility renovation, there'd be no need to touch that piece of it. So this one does not touch the lobby roof that's between the two buildings. So that piece still has options. We wouldn't, if we move forward with another project out of the renovation planning process, we wouldn't be tearing apart anything that we've already done. Okay. So the refrigeration is going to be where the refrigeration currently is. There'll be some slight building modifications to that because it is an anhydrous ammonia system, which requires some walling off and some separate ventilation for that to be, well, just so you don't enter a room that has anhydrous ammonia leak. You've got to be able to vent that stuff out. So the solar, the roof, and that refrigeration plant, no impact on our ability to move forward, and we wouldn't be tearing up anything that was just done with this project if we do move forward with some renovation projects.
Okay, great. And so I see it says the total cost of this project is $5.2 million. And so just for clarification, I know that we had already purchased, you needed to do some advanced ordering of refrigeration equipment.
Correct.
Right?
The motor
That had
control
long lead
center.
times. And then we had already authorized some of the work already on the west roof. And so is that $5.2 million all of those
Everything.
projects to date? Okay, that's what I thought, because this was an amendment to the original scope of the project.
Everything included 5.2.
Okay. And when we were originally estimating all of this, I want to say it was closer to 4 million. So are we over budget? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, 4.5, and as time creeps on, prices keep moving up. So a portion of that was an added piece to the west rink roof, which was there's kind of the slant roof off of the top of the main roof. If you can picture it, it's flat, and then there's some metal that slants off of the current west rink roof. We know there's some leaks and stuff under that. The original roofing project did not tackle that, so that added about $400,000 to do that.
Holy smokes.
But
Okay.
we're touching that roof, this is the time to do it. So there's been some added pieces like that. There is a couple of months of temporary chillers, if we need them, built into this as well. So if we don't need those chillers, we won't incur that cost. If for some reason something happened and the refrigeration plant wasn't online when we need to build ice, we have temporary chillers built in to the price to make sure that we have ice in the fall of next year.
Okay, terrific. And so for the east rink, what are the plans for the roof there?
As is for now.
Okay.
The East Rink roof, the only problems we have with East Rink roof, and we are working on that with Charlie from Facilities, is when we have snow and ice slide off that barrel roof.
Oh, yes, it's very
It takes out
dangerous.
some of the stacks for vents, for chimneys from boilers and stuff like that. So trying to build up some better snow guards for that, but it is also just a hazard of having that type of roof and having facilities underneath that roof that need to vent to the outside.
Well, not to mention the public. I was once walking into the rink as it was melting, and I saw a huge sheet come down, and it came down into the parking lot, like where folks
The
pick up
buses
their
pull
kids
up,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, right. Okay. And so there's not an earmark at this time for that work to be
Not for that.
completed? Okay.
Certainly something that's on our staff's mind if we look for a future renovation project is to do something to be able to separate pedestrian traffic from that snow zone, that snowfall zone. But currently, there's a couple of storm drains in that curb line and that curb line itself too.
Great. And then, so we're paying for all of this. This is the bonding, I guess, a question for yourself or Dan was, since this is over budget.
I don't know that I'd agree with the comment over budget, but that's semantics. The intent would be to seek roughly half of the funding through the state, where we've got the state, or the Senate Capital Investment Committee visiting next week, the 30th, next Thursday. So hopefully we'll have some interest in the project. If that cannot work out, we would look at funding that internally. So we would certainly be issuing debt in order to move forward with the project. We also, historically, through our joint powers agreement, have had a cost-sharing arrangement with the school district. So I'd anticipate that those negotiations, which we've had some initial conversation, but those negotiations will be ongoing for them to pick up some portion of it, likely, increasing their ice rental rates or something, but bringing in additional funding from that standpoint.
Your Honor, may I continue?
Sure.
So, so of the 5.2, so we're going to move ahead with the work, but we haven't secured all the funding for all of the construction? I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused about that.
This project has long lead times.
Right.
And in order to meet those lead times, we could not wait to hear if we had state funding.
I see.
So back in June or July, when we entered this contract, council said, we need to move forward. We can't delay another year to see if we have state funding come through. So we're still hoping that we can.
Right.
But the project really is at a point that we need to be pushing this forward.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I've been supportive of it all along. I didn't know that the Senate Capital Investment Committee is coming to look at the rink next Thursday, so that's new news to me. I'm not sure.
They'll be here
if there's the
Thursday. I will send out an email to council, making sure that you've got the specifics on when and where.
Okay, wonderful, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Fulch. Any other questions, council? Okay, if not, I would accept a motion to approve the amendment number 2 for the Guaranteed Energy Saving Agreement with Apex Facility.
So moved, Your Honor.
Councilmember Fox and Councilmember Fulch. New discussion, council? All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Thanks,
Thank you very
Chris.
much.
Looking forward to seeing the process starting, right? Okay, tonight, under administration, we have the National Class Action Settlement for PFAS, and we will have an introduction by our city administrator, Dan Waticha. Dan?
Thank you. Obviously, we've been talking about various pieces of this for quite a while. This specific item was on the agenda last meeting, but we pulled it pending some additional review by our attorneys. There are 2 national class action settlements that have been proposed or negotiated, one with 3M Company and one with the DuPont Company. Combined, there's a calculator, so it gives you a range. So we don't know exactly what we would get, but estimate it would be between 2.7 million and 4.6 million from 3M and 260,000 and 440,000 from DuPont. So roughly $3 to $5 million, probably towards the lower end of that range. 3 to 5 million is far short of the $69 million construction price tag we're looking at, and additionally, the operation and maintenance of the facility. We have been working with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to basically working through the Superfund process in order to investigate the presence of PFAS in our drinking water and potential sources for that, and specifically potential connection to the disposal, 3M's Cottage Grove disposal site. That'll take some process, and hopefully we will know more about that study later this winter, certainly later in the spring. But at the same time, we've got this settlement before us now, and it has some very strict requirements, such as if you want out, which is my recommendation, if you want out and reserve your rights to seek other claims against 3M and DuPont, you have to affirmatively say you're out. If you sit quiet and the deadline goes by, you're automatically in. And if you're automatically in, it doesn't even mean you get money. You still have to fill out the paperwork to make your claim. So if a municipality is unaware and just sits idly by, the whole thing will pass them. But we're aware of it. There also is a very strict deadline. In early December is the deadline to say we opt out. And I think that's part of why we've had these discussions here at City Council, discussions with our environmental attorneys about this, and essentially really a matter of keeping our options open. The dollars that we appear to be eligible for are nowhere near what we know we will need. We don't know exactly what the final disposition will be, if it's something that we're able to have through some sort of claim against 3M, whether it's the state's settlement with 3M, whether it's some funding directly by the state or some other grant funding. But really, we want to, at this point, keep all options open with the size of the dollar amounts. I think that's the highlights to it. But with that, I can certainly take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Council, any questions? Okay, if, Councilmember Fulch?
Thank you, Your Honor. So what you're asking for us this evening is a motion to formally opt out of the PFAS, the settlement that is against 3M at this point. You know, I support that. I think it's a bit of a calculated risk. I mean, obviously, if we decide to not litigate, if we decide to opt out, that means that we have to move forward with litigation. And and I know that we've brought on an attorney to assist us with evaluating the situation. How does that work in conjunction with the League of Minnesota Cities? Would we work at all with their legal staff, or would we be completely on our own to pursue litigation against 3M? And maybe Attorney Land would be best to suit that question, or to answer that question. Thanks.
Your Honor, Councilmember Fulch, the way it works with the League of Minnesota Cities is they're not taking a position on the PFAS litigation at all. They are informing the cities that there are these two class actions, and they're informing the cities that there are deadlines, that you need to make decisions. And that's it. They're not providing any legal advice. If the city chooses to pursue litigation, we would be on the plaintiff's side, and the league is only defense. So they do not provide any litigation assistance for plaintiff's side litigation. Rare cases they will, if they involve something that is a land use matter, but 99.9% of the time, they will back away from representing a city if the city is on the plaintiff's side of the V. So the city would be required to hire its own legal counsel. And in this kind of environmental case, you definitely need specialized litigators that understand environmental law. I can help with filling out a claim form. I can help with the opt-out or the opt-in. And that's about it. So we wouldn't litigate this kind of a detailed scientific environmental claim.
Thank you, Counselor. Dan?
Yeah, and just add for clarification, if the city were to opt out this evening, that is not a decision to file suit against 3M. It really is a decision to keep our options open. We have that option in the future, but it's not a decision or a commitment to it at this point.
Councilmember Fulch?
And then how is it that we would approach 3M and request funds? Because, you know, I agree with you, $1.5 to $3 million is a drop in the bucket when we're looking at incurring a cost of $69 million. And so, so I think that it is a calculated risk that we're taking. And so what is our course of action? Is it, you know, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how it is that we wouldn't, how is it that we wouldn't receive funds from 3M if we don't litigate it? They probably wouldn't just agree to lunch and, you know, hand over $25 million. And so it seems to me that we would need some kind of plan for how it is that we're going to move forward if we're opting out. And I don't know if that is like attorney-client privilege and something that we should discuss in a closed session, but it seems that it would behoove us to have more of a strategic plan for how it is we're going to move forward with this. Seems like we have a lot of balls up in the air that we're trying to pursue, you know, we're trying to pursue different avenues to help with assistance. It would be helpful to have a closed session perhaps and understand the strategy that we should be pursuing.
Thank you, Councilmember Fulch. Councilmember Fox?
Considering this on our last agenda, in my conversations with Dan prior to the meeting, the way that I reflected on it was exactly such, right? It's a calculated risk. It's something that we really have to do our due diligence and take the steps to have more impact financially in the future with other opportunities, or perhaps this opportunity in litigation. So I would like to make a motion to officially opt out of the national class action settlement against 3M and et cetera.
Thank you, Councilmember Fox. And Councilmember
Both
Pemble?
of them, yes.
Councilmember Pemble seconds.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any new discussion, council? All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion, state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Council members, any announcements? Councilmember Fulch.
I'm sorry that I was a few minutes late to the meeting, and I was intending on pulling the study that was done of our commercial businesses in Hastings, the solid waste study, and I was just curious, and perhaps this can be brought, I don't know if Dan's ready to answer it now, or perhaps we can discuss it later, was just what would be the next steps if the county was going to use the data to assist our business community in understanding better options for recycling, or if city staff were going to use that information and create any plans with it. That's what I was wondering.
Thank you, Councilmember Fulch.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Dan?
There is nothing presently planned, but I think that it did note a couple of areas that there certainly could be some education to businesses. A couple things. I read the draft. I didn't read the final version, and it's been a month and a half since I read it. So going by memory, I think that it found businesses were very good at recycling cardboard. Some of their other materials maybe a little bit not as consistent, but overall I think decent. There were a couple of businesses that did not have apparent recycling containers. And maybe it just wasn't in the alley, they had some other solution, but that raised a question. There also is a matter of some businesses appeared to, on the business side, be doing a good job recycling, but there was stuff, maybe it was soda cans and food-type containers, but it looked like maybe the employee break room was not being recycled and was just going in the trash. So I think there's a few areas that certainly could be some outreach for Violet to do or for the county to do, but there's no immediate plans for that.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just hope that maybe a few nuggets could be shared at least with the Chamber of Commerce to share with its membership from, the findings of that study so that we could help educate our local businesses. I always hate to do studies and not have a plan of action as to how to use the study. And so I knew it was a little bit of a risk for us to do that study without, a plan in advance. And so I would hope that staff are going to at least spread some of that information to local business communication channels that are already made available to us. And I would really like to hear back in the future, because I know that we do receive some grant funds from the county to use specifically for recycling, and how it is that we're going to continue to move forward towards the county's goals using that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fulch. Any other announcements? Okay, I have a few. The city offices will be closed this Thursday and Friday in observance of Thanksgiving. Gobblegate is Thursday, November 23rd. You can still register all the way up until the race day. Proceeds do benefit Hastings Family Service. Small Business Saturday and the Holiday Hoopla are Saturday, November 25th. Enjoy music, crafts, s'mores, horse and wagon rides, tree lighting, and retail and restaurant deals. Recycle your old lights with the Hastings Holiday Lights Drop-Off Collection. Residents can drop off their unwanted light strands at the Joint Maintenance Facility, 920 10th Street West, during the holiday season from November 13th to January 3rd. The Hastings Prescott Art Council Annual gala and silent auction is Sunday, December 3rd. You can attend in person or online. Thursday, November 21st, 7 PM, there's a Heritage Preservation Commission meeting. Monday, November 27th, 7 PM, there's a Finance Committee meeting. 7 PM on Monday, November 27th, is a Planning Commission meeting. And Monday, December 4th, at 7 PM, is a City Council meeting. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Pamble and Councilmember Liefeld, no discussion. All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed to that motion state by saying nay.